life during the pandemic. Disinformation and also HAPS platforms to spread viruses and looking for time. Um, disinformation also hops from platform to platform. The pandemic actually was first on YouTube before it was on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Misinformation regarding the election dropped 73% across social media platforms after Twitter permanently suspended Trump, as well as also, I'm sorry, okay, and also the Capitol insurgency and QAnon. But the question really is, what took so long? The witnesses here today have demonstrated time and time again that that they do not that self-regulation has not worked. They must be held accountable for allowing disinformation and misinformation to spread. And that is why I'll be introducing the Online Consumer Protection Act, which I hope will earn bipartisan support. And thank you. I yield back.
The Honourable Lady yields back. The chair now recognizes Mr. Bilirakis, ranking member of the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce, for 5 minutes for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Thank you for participating in today's hearing, all the witnesses and the members. I've been thinking about this hearing since our side first requested this hearing last year. My time in Congress has provided me enough knowledge about the history of the committee to know what the Telecommunications Act was, and importantly, what it wasn't. Components of that law have been struck down by the courts, while other provisions are interpreted and applied differently than first conceived. This is all a departure from congressional intent. Regardless of what one thinks of whether all of the Communications Decency Act was the right approach, the same members that voted for Section 230 voted for that entire bill. The statute was meant to protect our society, specifically our children. To our witnesses today, here lies the problem for you. You don't want the federal government telling you what parts of your company you're allowed to operate. So imagine things from our perspective when you pick and choose what parts of the law you want to follow. I really do admire your ingenuity. You have created something truly remarkable, in my opinion. But with that power, you must also be good Samaritans. And you have an obligation to be stewards of your platform. If your legal department doesn't believe you're bound to the intent of the law, I would hope your moral compasses will. Many of my colleagues will raise legitimate concerns about the attack on the Capitol from January, and other colleagues can point to what occurred in our cities last summer. These were all incidents where social media escalated tension, incited chaos, and bred extremism through echo chambers and algorithms. As the new Republican leader, quite an honor, on the Commerce Protection and Commerce Committee, so the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee, I have been digging into how your companies operate. That led me to run a survey of my district following our big tech hearing announcement. The conclusion is my constituents simply don't trust you anymore. With thousands of responses, over 82% say they do not trust big tech, be good stewards of their platforms, or consistently enforce their policies. That includes my constituent who told me we were providing information to local families on teen suicide risk on Facebook live stream. It was blocked. Another constituent said she has seen countless teens be bullied online or simply not able to process the devastating comparison that they are forced to deal with on social media. Others told me they stopped using your services altogether out of fear and distrust. One even told me they quit social media due to treatment from your company over their family's Christian views. Each one of these represents a story of how your company has failed you. You'll be hearing from my colleagues with more of these stories about how big tech has lost its way, highlighting a much larger problem. People want to use your services, but they suspect the coders are designing what they think we should see and hear by keeping us online longer than ever, and all with the purpose to polarize or monetize us, disregarding any consequences for that assault, for the assault on our inherent freedoms, which we hold so dearly. So I don't want to hear about how changing their current law is going to hurt startups, because I heard directly from them accusing you of anti-competitive tactics. None of us want to damage entrepreneurs. What I do want to hear is what you will do to bring our country back from the fringes and stop the poisonous practices that drive depression, isolation, and suicide, and instead cooperate with law enforcement to protect our citizens. Our kids are being lost while you say you will try to do better, as we've heard countless times already. We need true transparency and real change. We need, again, not empty promises from you. We've heard that over and over again. The fear you should have coming into this hearing today isn't that you're going to get upgraded by a member of Congress. It's that our committee knows how to get things done when we come together. We can do this with you or without you, and we will. Thank you.
The gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes Mr. Colon, chairman of the full committee, for 5 minutes for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Doyle and Schakowsky, for this very important hearing. We're here today because the spread of disinformation and extremism has been growing online, particularly on social media, where there are little to no guardrails in place to stop it. And unfortunately, this disinformation and extremism doesn't just stay online, it has real world, often dangerous and even violent consequences. And the time has come to hold online platforms accountable for their part in the rise of disinformation and extremism. According to a survey conducted by True earlier this month, 30% of Americans are still hesitant or simply do not want to take the COVID-19 vaccine. On January 6th, our nation's capital was violently attacked. This month, Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas identified domestic violent extremism as the greatest threat to the United States, and crimes against Asian Americans have risen by nearly 150% since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Each of these controversies and crimes have been accelerated and amplified on social media platforms through misinformation campaigns, the spread of hate speech, and the proliferation of conspiracy theories. 5 years ago, during the 2016 presidential elections, Facebook, Google, and Twitter were warned about but simply ignored their platform's role in spreading disinformation. And since then, the warnings have continued, but the problem has only gotten worse. Only after public outrage and pressure did these companies make inadequate attempts to appease lawmakers. But despite the public review, Wall Street continued to reward the company's strategies to promote disinformation and misinformation by driving their stock prices even higher. And now, despite repeated promises to seriously tax their prices, Facebook, Google, and Twitter instead routinely make minor changes to their policies in response to the public of the day, and they will change some underlying internal policy that may or may not be related to the problem, but that's it. The underlying problem remains. So, Mr. Chairman, it is now painfully clear that neither the market nor public pressure will force these social media companies to take the aggressive action they need to take to eliminate disinformation and extremism from their platforms. And therefore, it's time for Congress and this committee to legislate and realign these companies to the Senate. Today, our laws give these companies and their leaders a blank check to do nothing. Rather than limit the spread of disinformation, Facebook, Google, and Twitter have created business models that exploit the user's brand preference for divisive content to get Americans hooked on their platforms at the expense of the public interest. It isn't just that social media companies are allowing disinformation to spread, it's that in many cases they're actively amplifying and spreading it themselves. And clients who have said their leverage law have simply become the voice of doing business. The dirty truth is that they are relying on algorithms to purposely promote territorial, divisive, or extremist content so that they can make more money in ad dollars. This is because of the outrageous and extremist content these companies get from their users, and more views equals more money. That's what they're about, more money. It's crucial to understand that these companies aren't just the advisors, they're playing an active role in the media drive with disinformation, extremism, because they make money. So when a company is actually promoting content, I question whether the system last week which actually should apply. Members on this committee have suggested legislative solutions, and if it's bills, the committee is going to consider open options so that the following and why we get the company into the public. The older platform is that's why we feel we get to a
You're dead fool.
about what some actions without firing
Freeze don't mess around, huh? You're dead, son of a bitch! You asked for it! Let's go! Ah! You're about to die! Hey, come on!
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought that these folks I can testify today, I was wrong. That is not what has transpired. You have broken my trust. Yes, because you failed to promote the battle of ideas and free speech. Yes, because you censored political viewpoints and disagreed with them. Your polarizing actions matter for democracy. Do you know what convinced me big tech is a destructive force? It's how you refuse to control, manipulate, harm our children. Your platform are my biggest a mom of three small children. Big tech battles in our household every day. A battle for their development, a battle for their mental health, ultimately, a battle for their safety. I've monitored your algorithms. I've monitored where your algorithms lead them. Frankly, and I know that I'm not alone. After multiple teenage field tests in my community, I reached out to our schools and started asking questions. What's going on with our kids? What's making them feel so alone, so empty, and in despair? This is what I heard over and over again from parents, pediatricians, school administrators, and teachers. They're all raising the alarm about social media. A day doesn't go by that I don't talk to friends about it. Their 14-year-old who's depressed, who's loves soccer, and the fitness community. She never gets off her fights or leaves her. I think about a mom who told me she can't leave her daughter alone ever because she harms herself. For the family who's recovering after almost losing their daughter to a predator she met online. These stories are not unique to me or Eastern Washington. I recently heard of a young college student who has lost 9 friends to suicide. This is unimaginable. The science on social media is becoming clear. Between 2011 and 2018, rates of depression, self-harm, Suicides and suicide attempts exploded among American teens. During that time, rates of teen depression increased more than 60%, with a larger increase among young girls. Between 2009 and 15, emergency room admissions for self-harm among 10 to 14-year-olds tripled, and suicide, cancer. One study found during that time, teens who use their devices for 5 or more hours a day were 66% more likely to have at least one suicide attempt compared to those who use their devices. Other studies have found that teens who spend more time online report lower psychological well-being and more feelings of loneliness. Remember, our kids, the users, are the product. You, the tech, aren't compatible with exploit and profit off of them. Big tech needs to be exposed. Completely programmed for your community of children. So parents like me can make informed decisions. We also expect tech to do more for children because we haven't done enough. Big tech has failed to be good stewards of your platform. I have 2 daughters and a son with a disability. Let me be clear. I do not want you defining what is true for them. I do not want their future manipulated by your algorithms. I do not want their self-worth defined by the engagement tools you built to attract their attention. I do not want them to be endangered from what you've created. I do not want their emotions and vulnerabilities taken advantage of so you can make more money and have more power. I'm sure most of my colleagues on this committee, who are parents and grandparents, feel the same way. Over 20 years ago, before we knew,
Would you look at this ray of sunshine, Tammy?
I want to know, why do you think you still deserve those protections today? What will it take for your business model to stop harming children? I know I speak for millions of moms when I say we need answers, and we will not rest until we get them. Thank you.
Thank the gentlelady. Gentlelady yields back. The chair would now like to remind members that pursuant to committee rules, all members' written opening statements shall be made part of the record. I would now like to introduce our witnesses for today's hearing and thank them all for appearing today. First, we have Mark Zuckerberg, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Facebook, Sundar Pichai, Chief Executive Officer of Google, and Jack Dorsey, Chief Executive Officer of Twitter. We want to thank all 3 of you for joining us today. We look forward to your testimony. Each of you will have 5 minutes to give your opening statements. Mr. Zuckerberg, we'll start with you. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairs Pallone, Chakowski, and Doyle, ranking members Rogers, Latta, Bilirakis, and members of the committee. I'm glad that this committee is looking at all the ways that misinformation and disinformation show up in our country's discourse. There are important challenges here for our society. We have to decide how we want to handle speech that is legal but harmful, and who's responsible for what people say. Misinformation is not a new problem. It was 200 years ago that a congressman said that a lie would travel from Maine to Georgia while truth was still getting on his boots. And disinformation has often been spread through traditional media too. But the internet gives everyone the power to communicate, and that certainly presents unique challenges. Now, people often say things that aren't verifiably true, but that speak to their lived experiences. And I think we have to be careful restricting that. For example, if someone feels intimidated or discriminated against while voting, I believe that they should be able to share their experience, even if the election overall was fair. Now, I don't think anyone wants a world where you can only say things that private companies judge to be true, where every text message, email, video, and post has to be fact-checked before you hit send. But at the same time, we also don't want misinformation to spread that undermines confidence in vaccines, stops people from voting, or causes other harms. At Facebook, we do a lot to fight misinformation. We remove content that could lead to imminent real-world harm. We built an unprecedented third-party fact-checking program, and if something is rated false, then we add warning labels and significantly reduce its distribution. We invest a lot in directing billions of people to authoritative information. The system isn't perfect, but it's the best approach that we've found to address misinformation in line with our country's values. It's not possible to catch every piece of harmful content without infringing on people's freedoms in a way that I don't think that we'd be comfortable with as a society. Our approach was tested in 2020 when we took extraordinary steps during an extraordinary election. We removed voting misinformation, banned hundreds of militias and conspiracy networks, including QAnon, labeled posts that prematurely or wrongly declared victory, and directed people to official results. We labeled over 180 million posts. We directed 140 million people to our official vote information center, and we helped 4.5 million people register to vote. We did our part to secure the integrity of the election. And then, on January 6th, President Trump gave a speech rejecting the results and calling on people to fight. The attack on the Capitol was an outrage, and I want to express my sympathy to all of the members, staff, and Capitol workers
We
who
need
lived
some
through
help
this
resolving
disgraceful
an
moment of history.
awkward
I want to
situation
express my
to
gratitude
do with the
to the
so-called
Capitol Police
gentleman
for
who was
the hard
courting
fight
me.
against our democracy.
Normally, Bray would
I believe
handle
former
these
President
matters, but
I just ain't as
that
nimble as
people
I
who have the
used to
law
be.
should be responsible for their actions.
I don't
So that
know.
leaves
You can be
all
when you want to be.
And I won't stand for someone
I
disrespecting my
can
talent.
tell you what we did.
Especially some
Before January
fancy
6th,
man
we
with
worked with law
degenerate
enforcement to
tolerance for
identify and address
narcotics. We heard he's in
during
convoy
the
on
attack,
his
we
way from
provided extensive
Annisburg to
support in
Emerald
identifying
Station.
insurrectionists
You could
and
apprehend
removing
some of
post
them
245.
and bring them back
We
here.
didn't catch everything, but we made
Well,
our
I
services
think you know
available
just
to
how
those who might
grateful
get
we
harmed.
can be.
And what we feared is that he would
Yep.
incite further violence. We suspended the former president. And then people ban elected leaders. I don't think that private companies should make so many decisions like this alone. We need an accountable process, which is why we created an independent oversight board that can overrule our decisions. We need democratically free rules for the internet. The reality is our country is deeply divided right now, and that isn't something that tech companies alone can fix. We all have a part to play in helping to turn things around, and I think that starts with taking a hard look at the out there. Some people say that the problem is that certain networks are polarized enough, but that's not at all clear from the evidence or research. Polarization was rising in America long before social networks were even invented, and it's fallen or stable in many other countries where social networks are popular. Others claim that algorithms feed us content that makes us angry because it's good for business, but that's not accurate. I believe that the division we see today is primarily the result of a political and media environment that drives American apart. And we need to reckon with that if we're going to make progress. And I know that technology can help bring people together. We see it every day on our platform. Facebook is successful because people have a deep desire to connect with each other, not to stand apart from them. We believe that connectivity and togetherness are more powerful ideals than division and discord, that technology will be part of the solution to the challenges our society is facing. We're ready to work with you to move beyond hearings and get started on real
What can you possibly want from me? Please, I need help. You need to keep your distance. Anybody! Please, I need help! Why are you doing this? What the? I can't believe it! Oh no, this isn't happening! Someone please help me!
Let's go this way.
Stop! We're gonna lose it! Please don't do this! Can you please just put the gun down? Help me, please! Untie me! I didn't do anything!
Come on.
Can we just
Come on,
put
pick
the
him
gun
up.
down, please? Would you look at you, you excellent treat?
Because we'd love you to stay. Duty calls, I'm afraid.
What I give for a horse's fine leg.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. The chair now recognizes Mr. Dorsey for 5 minutes.
Thank you, members of the Energy Commerce Committee and subcommittees, for the opportunity to speak with you guys people about how Twitter may be used to spread disinformation in our solutions. We want to be brief so we can reach questions and discussion. In our discussion today, some of you might bring up specific tweets or examples, and I'll probably have an answer like, my team will follow up with you. I don't think that's useful. I'd rather us focus on principles and approaches to address these problems. I'll start with ours. We believe in free expression. We believe in free debate and conversation to find the truth. At the same time, we must balance that with our desire for our service not to be used to sow confusion, division, or destruction. This makes the freedom to moderate content critical to us. Our process to moderate content is designed to constantly evolve. We observe what's happening on our service. We work to understand the ramifications, and we use that understanding to strengthen our operations. We push ourselves to improve based on the best information we have. Much of what we're likely to discuss today are entirely new situations the world has never experienced before, and in some unique cases involve elected officials. We believe the best way to face a big new challenge is to narrowing the problem to have the greatest impact. Disinformation is a broad concept. We needed to focus our approach on where we saw the greatest risk if we hope to have any impact at all. So we chose to focus on disinformation media alpha in three categories to start: manipulated media, public health, and civic integrity. Many of you will have strong opinions about how effective we are. Some feel that we do too much, and some people will say we're not doing enough, and end up causing more harm. Both points of view are reasonable and worth exploring. If we woke up tomorrow and decided to stop moderating content, we'd end up with a service
Well
very few
done
people.
on that laugh note. Nah, sorry, I can't
Ultimately,
even fake it.
the business wants to grow the number of customers it serves. Enforcing policy is a business decision. Different businesses and services will have different policies, some more liberal than others. But we believe it's critical this variety continues to exist. Forcing every business to behave the same reduces innovation and individual choice, and diminishes free marketplace ideas. If instead we woke up tomorrow and decided to ask the government to tell us what content to take down or leave up, we may end up with a service that can be used to question
I'm
them.
guessing this ain't just
This
a
is the reality of many countries today. It is against the right of an individual. This would also have the effect of putting enormous resource requirements on businesses and services, which would further entrench only those who are able to afford it.
Hey, buddy.
Smaller businesses would not be able to compete, and all activity would be centralized into very few businesses. So how do we resolve these two viewpoints? One way is to create shared protocols. Social media has proven itself important enough to be worthy of an internet protocol. One that a company like Twitter can contribute to and compete on creating experiences people love to use. We started to work on such a protocol, which we call Blue Sky.
What, dude? I want to fucking.
Decentralized open source social media protocol, not owned by any single company or organization. Any developer around the world can help develop it, just as any company.
I can't fucking get shit from that's where this fucking.
There's an open protocol address the
What's
concerns
going
raised here.
on?
Greater transparency is the strongest benefit. Anywhere
fucking
anyone
have
around the
something.
world can see
What
everything
the fuck
that's
is that
happening
here?
whenever,
Guns.
including
another one
exactly
here
how it
for some
works.
money under the table.
One
I
doesn't
assume.
have to trust a company. Just look at the source code. Second, since the base protocol is shared, it will increase innovation around business models,
Hey,
recommendation algorithms, and moderation controls, which are in the hands of individuals rather than private companies.
fuck.
This will allow people to experiment in a market-based approach. Finally, it will allow all of us to
Bye
observe,
then.
acknowledge, address any societal issues that arise
Nothing doing right
much
now.
faster. Having more eyes on the problems will lead to more impactful solutions that
So,
can
am
be
I
built
right in thinking
directly,
you're here for more of Alden's little master scheme?
making the network far more secure and resilient. A decentralized open source protocol for social media is our vision and work for the long term. We continue the cycle mentioned earlier, constantly improving our approach to content moderation.
What the fuck?
I hope our discussion today will focus on more enduring solutions. One final note, we are a bunch of humans with the desire to make the world around us better for everyone living today and those that come after us.
Fuck.
We make mistakes in prioritization and in execution. We commit to being open about these and doing our best to remedy what we control. We appreciate the enormous privilege we have in building technologies to host some of the world's most important conversations. And we honor the desire to create better outcomes for everyone. Your time, I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, we've concluded witness opening statements. At this time, we will move to member questions. I want to make sure that members are aware that our witnesses are being assisted by counsel. And during questions, our witnesses may briefly mute themselves to seek advice of counsel, which is permitted. Each member will have 5 minutes to start asking questions of our witnesses. I ask everyone to please adhere to that 5-minute rule. I speak up many people that want to ask questions. I will start by recognizing myself for 5 minutes. Gentlemen, who's speaking?
Chuck Duncan, point of order.
Yes,
If
sir.
the witnesses are advised by counsel and we're not swearing them in, why would they need counsel?
In previous hearings, we've always permitted witnesses to have counsel. Sometimes here and just standing back and talking to the council for fun. But it's allowed under our rules. And I just want to make notice of it and themselves all.
We should issue an informal.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, my time is short. I ask you to make your responses as brief and to the point as possible. If I ask you a yes or no question, I'm just looking for a yes or no, so please respond appropriately. I want to start by asking all three of you if your platform bears some responsibility for disseminating this information related to the election of the Stop the Steal movement that led to the attack on the Capitol. Yes or no answer? Mr. Zuckerberg.
Chairman, I think our responsibility is to build systems that can.
Yes or no? You bear some responsibility for what happened.
Congressman, our responsibility is to make sure that we build effective systems to anti-this
This is not an answer question. Mr. Pichai, yes or no?
We always see a deep sense of responsibility that I put on this election.
Is that a yes or no? Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, but you also have to take into consideration the broader ecosystem. It's not just about the technology platform.
Thank you. Thank you, and I agree with that. Mr. Zuckerberg, independent analysis has shown that despite all the things that Facebook did during the election, users still interacted with election misinformation roughly 1.1 billion times over the last year. The initial Stop the Steal group started on Facebook and gained over 350,000 followers in less than a day, faster than almost any other of the platform's history. And they were immediately calling for violence. In mid-December, you stopped promoting high-quality news outlets for election content at a time when the disinformation was at its height. And finally, the FBI has released numerous documents showing that many of the insurrection used Facebook and the attack. So my question is, how is it possible for you not to submit that Facebook played a central role or leading role in facilitating the recruitment, planning, and execution?
Chairman, my point is that I think that the responsibility that lies with the people who took the actions to break the law and do the insurrection. And secondly, also the people who spread that content, including President as well, with repeated rhetoric over time, saying that the election was rigged and encouraging people to organize. I think that those people bear the primary responsibility as well. That was the point of the thing.
I understand that, but your platforms supercharge that. You took what you have paid in 12 hours, you got 350,000 people. In your site, you witnessed up with algorithms make it possible to supercharge these kinds of opinions. I think we're here because of these platforms that put other choices, put our lives and our democracy at risk and this kind of this money. So I want to ask you another question. Do you think vaccines that have been approved for COVID-19 work? Just yes or no? Do you think vaccines work?
Yes.
Okay, so if you think the vaccines work, why did companies allow the council to make the vaccine misinformation policies to remain up? The important report was global count on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account for 65% of all the vaccine disinformation on the platforms. We're exposing tens of millions of users to this every day. I don't have the stats on YouTube, but I'm just doing it. So my first question is, why is this pandemic in America? If you haven't taken these accounts down in response to the vaccine disinformation on the platforms, will you all commit to taking these platforms down today?
Congressman, yes, we do have a policy against allowing
Please take the sites down. Thank you.
Get the hell out of there right now.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Go on and get the hell out of here.
Get these.
Come on out where I can see you.
I reckon I'll tear your eyes out.
Hey, what the fuck? Oh man, come on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dorsey. I see my time is getting expired. Mr. Dorsey, you take this one. I will now do
You're as good as dead.
Are you?
Hell, you.
Oh hell! Oh hell!
Ah, shit. Fuck, man.
Been building systems for a long time that use AI, and we have thousands of people working on trying to identify content and our systems are generally pretty effective. Congressman, I believe that the responsibility of the responsibility that I think platforms should have is building systems to
Fucking asshole, man. Oh, man, you fuck. Oh,
Thanks, Congressman. I would support two specific changes, especially for large platforms. Although I want to call out that I think for smaller platforms, I think we need to be careful about any changes that we make that remove their immunity, because that could hurt competition. So let me just call it obvious for larger platforms. I think first, platforms should have to issue transparency reports that state the prevalence of content across all different categories of harmful content, everything from child exploitation to terrorism to incitement of violence to intellectual property violations to pornography, whatever the different harms are. And
let me ask you a quick now, where are those transparency reports being reported to, and how often do you think those should be going out?
Well, Congressman, as a model, Facebook has been doing something to this effect for every quarter, right, where we report on the prevalence of each category of harmful content, how effective our systems are at identifying that content and removing it in advance. And I think the company should be held accountable for having effective systems to do that broadly. The second change that I would propose is creating accountability for the large platforms to have effective systems in place to monitor and remove clearly illegal content. So things like sex trafficking or child exploitation or terrorist content. And I think it would be reasonable to condition immunity for the larger platforms on having a generally effective system in place to moderate clearly illegal types of content.
I know when you're talking about what you platforms could make you held liable for a particular piece of content.
All right. What are we doing, Evolution?
So, again, that's one of the areas when you think about the transparency and also.
Is that your posse?
I like to follow up on. Let me have to go on real quick. Yesterday, do you agree with Mr. Duffy?
Oh shit, you guys aren't in my posse.
There are definitely
What's going on?
Okay, Mr. Dorsey, do you agree with Mr. Duffy in terms of conclude?
Hey.
Community around transparency, I think it's going to be very hard to determine what the more from these
Okay, gentlemen's time has expired.
Thank you very much. My time is starting to get back.
You're now recognized as Chair Schakowsky, Chair of the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Oh man, never mind.
Immediately after the Capitol Cheryl Campbell did an interview in which she...
Damn, man, my shit's all fucked up now. Fucking camps all down here. Shit. Jeez. Alright, man. Let's go.
And bookkeepers used Facebook to coordinate in real time during the meeting. And so my question for you is, will you admit today that Facebook groups in particular play a role in making the opinion that we saw, and that led to the Capitol shooting?
Congresswoman, thanks for the question on this. In the comment that Cheryl made, what I believe that we were trying to say was, and what I stand behind, is what was widely reported at the time, that after January 6th.
You know, I'm sorry to interrupt, as many of my colleagues have had to do, because we only have 5 minutes.
All right. Hey, I joined this posse.
And would you admit that Facebook played a role?
Yeah, they're talking to Jack. They're talking to Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and the guy from Google. Yeah, they're talking about the internet,
Okay, I'm going to ask.
social media.
Many companies have
Yeah, they want to get rid of social media. Hey, I got a big ass delivery too. I got a big delivery and I got moonshine too. Oh, I got a fucking bounty. Shit. Man. All right. Well, I'm headed to camp.
Shooting happens within a few minutes. Our teams have to make decisions about the content to take down that certain pieces of but I agree with you that we should have some laws in these and agencies like the FTC have
You're happy to burn watching you die.
Sorry, I'm getting shot at.
You going hot, you ain't gonna like
Come on.
We're free now. Hey! Come on! Those evil sons of bitches. You gave them what they deserve. I'm done standing by. I don't normally, but visited my people long enough.
Come on, dude. Get on my horse.
God damn it, they're back! What shooter? Nothing they stink about. Hey, hey, where you going? Where you going?
So you're saying that this is not true? What I'm telling you. Are you willing to reinstate reinstate the cooperation law? We can't provide on we have to more detail on what you're saying, but we work
Mister.
How are things?
Oh, just fine.
All right, then. Better be good. You got a decent eye for these things by the looks of it.
We'll commit to continue doing what we are doing.
And what is that?
That'll do a lot of damage. It's yours, then.
saying, working in other words, local.
Thanks.
We're going to go on to the next question, but I'm going to follow along.
How
We
fast?
observe
You
the
tell me
technology
tonight.
today on the clock. There are now two reports of its Instagram under 13 being launched. Between this, you have already identified a business case for targeting this age bracket with content, and I find that very concerning. Targeting if it needs to be stopped, how exactly would you like to try allowing your own use your child while talking about the guidance for children under 13 and under.
The Wanderer returns.
Can you please answer that question?
I can.
Congressman, we're early in thinking through how this service could work. There is clearly a large number of people under the age of 13 who want to use a service like Instagram. We currently do not allow them to do that. I think
Fuck, I don't know what's going on. At 1 second, I'm gonna fucking hit somebody's posse, and then I'm not.
Well, Congressman, I think helping people stay connected with friends and learn about different content online is broadly thought. There are clearly issues that need to be thought through and worked out, including how parents can control the experience of kids, especially kids under the age of 13. And we haven't worked through all of that yet, so we haven't kind of formally announced the plans. But I think that something like this could be quite helpful for a lot of people.
Excuse me. Okay, I'll explain my time. Mr. Prasad, you're talking creating content for kids. What advice would you offer your followers?
Congressman, we've invested a lot in one of a kind product, YouTube Kids. The content there is we work with trusted content partners. Think Sesame Street as an example of the type of channel you would find there. Science videos and cartoons, and we take great effort to make sure.
I need to reclaim my time. I have one last question for Mr. Zuckerberg. Do you have concerns with what has appeared on your platform posted by YouTube? Or with regard to your children, but in general, you have concerns? Yes.
Congressman, are you asking me about YouTube?
Yes, I'm asking you about YouTube.
Congressman, I use YouTube to watch educational videos with my children.
Yeah. Do you have concerns? Personally, for your children and your family, personally, do you have concerns?
Congressman, my children are 5 and 3 years old, so when I watch content on YouTube with them, I'm doing it and supervising them. So in that context, no, I haven't particularly had concerns, but I think it's important that if anyone is building a service for kids under the age of 13 to use by themselves, they're appropriate for it.
The gentleman's time is expired. All right. Whatever the fuck. You definitely get the impression that you don't get active in any way promoting this information. I totally disagree with that. You're not passive advisors. You're not non-profits or organizations are trying to do a good job. You're making what you're buying is that if you spread this information,
this is what we take to the times of the guys and then I looked through I just was doing well. But my question is, yes,
Shit, man. Alright. Well, I'm trying to make it over there, guys.
Congressman, this is something that we studied because we want to make sure our product is I've seen the study. It was about
Come on, dumb horse. I want to go away. I'll go this way. Man, you should have waited until I at least got back to the motherfucking, what's it called? Shit. Trying to catch up, guys. Maybe across the damn side of the fucking world.
Congressman, I can't speak to that specific example, but we've placed a lot of different measures in the agreement. Congressman, we do a lot of work in this area, and there's a lot of in addition to many other results and things we've taken to shut down recommendations.
Alright, I'm caught up.
Too much time on screen and social media is discouragement and despair. And it seems to be an accepted truth in the tech industry. Because what we're here today, making money, deep down, me, and how much control is hurting.
Congresswoman, the research that I've computers and social media.
So I would ask. You said earlier that you don't want to be sitting for do you currently have any locations on market for products or how do you think that would
Congresswoman, my the research that we've seen is that you use is to impulse
Mr. Zuckerberg, I do have some questions. So do you
but our goal is not
mentioned earlier that you're studying extremism. I'd like to ask, yes or no, all of you, or anyone who has Facebook conducted any internal
Congressman, I know that this is something that we try to step
yes or no?
very well.
Okay, Mr. Doherty, that's there. No, Mr. Gold, conducted any research on the effects of product I would like to see that. It's not like we studied extremism.
Social media sites
Horse.
for stoking racial division or exaggerating racial injustice.
Shut the fuck up.
That a moment body on a computer and demonstrate the
right, dog. What the hell? All right. Bullshit. Dude, you can't even see anything. What the? Dude, they are cheap like hardcore now.
You're a dead man. You ain't gonna see another dog.
When you get by harnessing data and generating advertising revenue from such content. There is only one person that Amazon and all the subsidy of your companies, and that is to make substitute terms about nations shameful and inhumane and illegal with your in the past. This is a very reason why I asked Mr. George. I remember you and our news outlets and nation being submit commission and independent third-party civil rights audit of Twitter. This report and the hearing was followed up with by a very young
Just give up.
And what is the audit that knows the authority through the chairman of the committee? Where is the audit that we ask you, you agree to vote? And I don't have it either, and I felt that you were being very, very disingenuous. As a matter of fact, I thought that you had intentionally lied to the committee. And you could just condemn for it. And wait until we come up with legislation that will approve and will go on in a very, very respectful way. This was the lesson for the impact. We haven't taken this into account. And we can work with our efforts. That's the fine points are different from your expenses. These audits is very, very important to me as to those who are similar
Damn you
situated
to hell.
as I am. Facebook, to their credit, has completed an audit. And there's no reason, simply no reason under the sun that corporations as large as yours should not have completed that audit. Mr. Norton has
I got rank 80.
evaluated the network impact from COVID-19 vaccination, misinformation that affects on the African American community, and secondly, as the company even attempted to identify methods to combat COVID-19 misinformation targeted at African Americans and amplify reliable, trustworthy vaccine information.
Yes on both, and we review risk rights works directly on a regular basis. That is the solution.
Gentlemen, retired. Chair now recognizes
Oh, you fucking asshole. Ay, ay, ay. Cheaters, cheaters. All right. That's it.
That's a real deal animal.
Thanks, Congressman. This is an area and a great question. We have more than 1,000 engineers working on how our public integrity systems that basically find content that violates our policies. You're right that content does violate our policies. And we also have more than 35,000 people who work in content review, who basically are responding
What do we do,
to
Elias?
in the community or checking things that our AI systems flag for them that aren't sure of. And this is an area when we're talking about performing Section 230 where I think it would be reasonable to expect that
What are we doing, people? Shit. Whoa.
Thanks, Walter. I think bullying is a really important case to consider for Section 230 because, first of all, it's horrible that each fight that we have developed against it. But it also is often the case that bullying is not clearly illegal. So when we talk about needing the ability under something like Section 230 to be able to moderate content, which is not clearly longer, making sure that it's not bullying children. And here we work with the law enforcement to help with this. This is a huge effort in the community. We do it.
All right. What are we doing, guys?
platforms to a standard where they should have purely legal content like that. And the third important principle is that these policies should each apply never to large platforms, but each trying to extend all platforms. So that way, rather than start with Facebook, we've got a lot of lawsuits. Being important, and I think we'll see the next set of platforms being stopped being able to get started.
Gentlemen's time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. Well, we're California, so it's good morning for us. I want to start by saying that current moderation has removed posts without treating symptoms. And I think that we need to treat symptoms, but I also think that we need to address two underlying diseases. The first is that your products amplify extremism. Second is that your business models targeted enable misinformation to thrive because you post misinformation of great harm to our society. So to elicit joy, a lot of amplify extremism. Fourth, the journalists on both agree. And here's what they say happens. The users is often recommended more such videos. Always watch YouTube. YouTube is not doing enough
All right. That's me.
Congressman, you have rolled out recommendations systems, and I know you've ended on this before. Any area.
All journalists, researchers, there is a lot more to become. Much of the American is doing or recognition. That's serious, dangerous. Of course not. Yes and no.
Congressman, if I may explain, we
Now, I don't have time for we don't do filibuster in the House. That's something that's done in the Senate. So a filibuster doesn't work with us. Mr. Zuckerberg, your algorithm is really to keep users on your platform, but that leads to more effort. Now, businesses are in business to make money. We all understand that. But your model cost society. The most engaging posts are often those that produce fear, anxiety, anger, and that includes deadly misinformation. The Center for Countering Disinformation found that the Explore suggested post parts of Instagram are littered with COVID misinformation, election disinformation, and QAnon posts. So this is dangerous. Hopefully, are doing a bill that is going to ban this surveillance advertising. So are you willing to redesign your product to eliminate the focus on addicting users to your platform at all costs?
Congresswoman, as I said before, the teams that design our
You know
algorithms
what? Let me just say this, and I think it's irritating all of us.
and that is no one seems to know the word yes or the word no. Which one is it? You don't want to answer, say I don't want to answer. So it's yes or no.
Congressman, these are nuanced issues.
Okay, so I'm going to say no. Mr. Dorsey, as the chairwoman of the Health Subcommittee, I think that you need to eliminate all COVID misinformation and not label or reduce its spread, but remove it. I looked at a tweet this morning. Robert Kennedy Jr. Links the death of baseball legend Hank Aaron to the COVID vaccine, even though fact checkers debunked the story. The tweet has 9,000 retweets. Um, Will you take this down, and why haven't you, and also why haven't you banned the 12 accounts that are spewing its deadly COVID misinformation? This is not fly.
No, we won't take it down because they don't know our policy. So we're going to put a policy in
What
place.
kind of policy is that? Is it a policy for misinformation?
No.
Gentlelady's time has expired. The chair recognizes Mr. Scalise. Scalise here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you, members. I think our three witnesses for coming as well. Clearly, you're seeing a lot of concern expressed by members on both sides, both Republican and Democrat, about the way that social media platforms, especially as it relates to the fairness to the treatment of people. I know I've had a lot of concerns shared with me over the last few years about what algorithms that seem to be designed sometimes to have an intensive bias against conservatives. But we all agree that it's illegal activity, bullying, those things
Got some
are
restaurant
not
quality stew simmering in the pot.
social media. But there's a big difference between stopping bullying and violence type of social media posts versus actual censorship of political views that is viewed. And I think that I want to ask my first question. There have been a lot of concerns expressed recently about that media treatment and how to start with the post article. I think a lot of people have still left this article censored by Twitter, when it was originally sent out. This is newspaper that goes back to 1801, founded by Alexander Hamilton, and believed this very credible source article right before the election about Hunter Biden was banned by Twitter. And then when you contrast that, you have this Washington Post article that was designed to portray a conversation between President Trump and the Georgia Secretary of State. And since been parts of this have been debunked, and yet this article can still be tweeted out. I ask Mr. Dorsey, first of all, recognize that there is this real component of conservative bias on Twitter's behalf. If you recognize that.
All right, I'm just going to say it. Now, I know you've got your fingers in a few other pies now, and that's fine. Just don't forget to make time for our business, too.
We made a total mistake with the first. We corrected that within 24 hours. It was not to do with the content, it was to do with the hacks materials policy. We had an incorrect interpretation. We don't write policy according to any particular political leaning. If we find any of it, we write it out.
So we're going to watch
we make mistakes. We won't make mistakes, and our goal is to correct them as quickly as possible. In that case, we do.
And I appreciate you recognizing that was a mistake. However, the New York Post Twitter account was blocked.
I don't know how you can touch that, baby.
To censor we got a newspaper that's highly respected as the New York Post, again, 1801 founded by Alexander Hamilton, for their entire account being blocked 2 weeks by mistake. Was anyone held accountable in your censoring department for that mistake?
Well, we don't have a censoring department, but I agree.
Who made the decision then to block their account for 2 weeks?
We didn't block their account for 2 weeks. We required them to delete the tweet and then they could tweet it again. They didn't take that action, so we corrected it for them. those.
Even though the tweet was accurate, look, you've seen the conversations on both sides about Section 230. And there's going to be more discussion about it, but you're acting as a publisher. If you're telling a newspaper that they got to delete something in order for them to be able to participate in their account, don't you recognize that you're no longer hosting a town square, you're acting as a publisher.
It was literally just a process error. This was not against them in any particular way. We require, if we remove the violation, we require people to actively change that based on not wanting
Did
to
I ever
delete
tell
that.
you I briefly trained
I see, but it is something we are.
Let me go to the New York, now let me go to Washington. This article can still be tweeted. I don't know if it was ever taken down. It contains false information. Even the Washington Post acknowledges that it contains false information. Yet their tweets today on their service that still mischaracterize it in a way where even the Washington Post admitted it's wrong. Yet those mischaracterizations to address that and start taking those down to reflect what even the Washington Post themselves has admitted as this false information.
Our misleading information policies are focused on manipulating media, public health, and civic integrity. That's it. We don't have a job.
I would hope that you would go and take that. And look, I know you said in your opening statement, Dorsey, that Twitter was running a business, and you said, quote, a business wants to grow its customers, the customers. So it's just recognize you become viewed and continue to become viewed as an anti-conservative, biased platform. There will be other people that step up who can also take voting. I turn Twitter. I hope you recognize that, and that would go back to that.
Gentleman's time is expired. The chair now recognizes Mr. Butterfield for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, last year, in response to police killing of George Floyd, you wrote a post on your Facebook page that denounced racial bias. It proclaimed Black Lives Matter. You also announced that the company would donate $10 million to racial justice organizations. And Mr. Dorsey, Twitter changed its official bio to a Black Lives Matter tribute, and you pledged $3 million to an anti-racism organization started by Colin Kaepernick. And Mr. Kuchai, your company held a company-wide moment of silence to honor George Floyd, and you announced $12 million in grants to racial justice organizations. The CEO of Google subsidiary YouTube wrote on a blog post, quote, "We believe Black Lives Matter and we all need to reform to dismantle systemic racism," end quote. YouTube also announced it would start a $100 million fund for Black creators. Now, all of this sounds nice, but these pronouncements, gentlemen, these pronouncements and money donations do not reflect the way your company's own products, Facebook, and YouTube, have been successfully weaponized by racists and are being used to undermine social justice movements, to suppress voting in communities of color, to spread racist content and lies. And so, gentlemen, in my view, your companies have contributed to the spread of race-based extremism and voter suppression. As the New York Times noted last year, it's as if the heads of McDonald's, Burger King, and Taco Bell all got together to fight obesity by donating to a vegan food co-op rather than lowering their calories, end of quote. Gentlemen, you could have made meaningful changes within your organizations to address the racial biases built into your products and donated to these organizations. But instead, we are left with platitudes and another round of passing the buck. America is watching you today. This is a moment that begins a transformation the way you do business, and you must understand that. Perhaps a lack of diversity within your organizations has contributed to these failures. The Regional Bank Office's 2025 initiative has been working for years to increase diversity and equity in tech companies at all levels. You know that because we have written with you in California. We founded this initiative in 2015 with the hope that by now the tech workforce would reflect the diversity of our country. Here we are, 2021. I acknowledge that you face a lot of advancement, but not enough. There must be meaningful representation in your companies to design your products and services in ways that work for all Americans. And that requires public accountability. History has shown that you have talked, but have failed to walk your walk. It appears now that Congress will have to compel you, perhaps with penalties, to make meaningful change. And I'm going to drop a yes or no answer, and hopefully I will have better results than my colleagues. Mr. Zuckerberg, I'll start with you, and please be brief, yes or no. Would you oppose legislation that would require technology companies to publicly report on workforce diversity at all levels?
Understand.
But I need to understand it in more detail.
So we've talked about that. I hope that if we introduce this legislation, you will not oppose it. What about you, Mr. Morgan? Would you oppose the law that makes workforce diversity reporting a requirement? Well, thank you for that. And we talked with you in your office some years ago. You mentioned that you want to see more. So what about you? Would you like to report more? Law that makes workforce diversity reporting a requirement. Would you oppose it?
That's better to most people that have what he and so I mean, share that I think it should be back and Bitcoin
And gentlemen, for the last 6 years of professional life office has said you over and over again, we need greater diversity among the workforce, and we need to publish the data so the world can see it. That's the only way we can deal with diversity. Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. I heard you at the beginning of the permitted gavel, and I yield back the 10 seconds that I have.
Gentleman deserves commendation for doing that, and I hope others follow his example. I'll recognize that Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Witnesses for being heard. You know, big tech and that's why to share this. Taking it. I did have around 8. And so what is it? Somebody but it seems like some people about God.
Keep up the good work, or we'll be asking you to move in.
Postings, so someone is posting a lot that maybe our system thinks it's spam, but I mean,
If you keep up this
detail.
good run, we might never let you leave.
The system is going to make mistakes. There's going to be content that
So,
we
we
take down.
need some help with tracking down a few old friends or ex-friends over a terrible confusion.
Terrible.
Story of my life.
Oh, Tammy.
Unfortunately,
And poor Bray's mobility ain't the best right now.
Oh, these damn trotters.
I rub his feet with dripping to no avail. I've taken to bathing him right there in that chair.
I ain't gonna lie.
That is probably the best night of the month
but
for me.
that vendor never
Anyway, a
but
couple of fellers we invited in and took care of now
that
seem to have some grievance against us over a simple medicinal error. Last we heard, they're on their way up from Rhodes to Valentine. Could you, though, bring them back here so we can straighten this out?
Sure.
And just in the context of that, we see to make clear signs that three feet away so we say on schools. Vision thinking changing every and
Oh, fuck. Sorry, horsey.
Policies of all Spain and not football say
I'm gonna pass that shit. Yep, my fucking
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Godfrey. Here now,
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for having us here today. Today we have another opportunity to hear from you, the faithful one of the members of the city resident today asked questions about last week, I testified at a House Judiciary Committee hearing about the rise in discrimination and violence against Asian Americans. Horrifically, that I'm very
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Come on, come on, come on. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. This motherfucker. Get this motherfucker. Get this mother.
Someone
that have been hit
So, these were little girl.
Now, that's what I like to see. Much as we'd love you to stay, duty calls, I'm afraid.
Thank you. Gentle Lady yields back. Let's see. The chair now recognizes Mr. Kinzinger for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. All this conversation is good to have. I think we also have to recognize that we need that. We're lucky to have these companies located in the United States. We talk about the issues and concerns, for instance, with TikTok. We can see that a lot of these companies could easily leave here and go elsewhere when we have far less oversight. I think the crackdown on January 6th was correct. I think we need to be careful and not use that as a way to deflect what led to January 6th. Rid of those topics. I think there are folks that are concerned though. We also need to make sure that safe levels of protection exist when what the leaders there speak. But if we go on the specific questions, over the years we've also seen the rise of disinformation. It's not new. I'm not getting disinformation in the 90s. But we've seen it spread on these platforms. So we live in a digital world where many people get their news and entertainment on the internet, from articles and posts, often based on algorithms that can cater to see and read. So those constant news feeds that simply reinforce people's beliefs first, look disgraceful. Extremism and violence have grown exponentially as a result. Important that any breed at birth algorithms are actually hateful and conspiratorial content should be I think the study is wrong, if it's not, that's just
Sure. Thank you, Congressman. This is an important set of topics. In terms of groups, we stopped recommending all civic and political groups, even though I think a lot of these political groups are healthy, because we were seeing that one method that there might be polarization or extremism, and groups might start off with one set of views, but migrate to another place. So we removed that completely. We did it first as an exceptional measure during the election. Since the election, we've announced that we're going to extend that policy indefinitely. For the rest of the content in newsfeed and on Instagram, the main thing that I'd say is I do think there's quite a bit of misperception about how our algorithms work and what we optimize for. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that we're optimizing for keeping people on the service. The way that we do this is that we are trying to help people have meaningful social interactions. People come to social networks to be able to connect with people. If we deliver that value, then it will be natural that people use our services more. And that's very different from setting up algorithms to just kind of spend every last minute on our service, which is not helping them find that native service.
I'm the only one playing. Oh shit! I don't even know how to play this.
Wall Street Journal titled "Facebook Executive Shut Down Networks." Let me come on. I can hear that. Companies on fake accounts that have all the developed a relationship on Facebook. In 2019, I sent Zuckerberg a letter highlighting the issue, and your team provided a relatively inaccurate response. Since then, the use of two pieces of legislation, the Social Media Accountability and Account Verification Act, and the Social Media Fraud Mitigation Act, both of which aim to curb this activity. So Mr. Zuckerberg, the last time he came before us, he stated that Facebook has a responsibility to protect users. Do you feel that your company is up to that and would some people remove those?
Thanks. So, fake accounts are one of the bigger integrity issues that we face. I think in the first half of last year, we took on more than 1 billion fake accounts. Just to give you a sense of the volume, although most of those our systems are able to identify within seconds or minutes of them signing up, because the accounts just don't behave in a way that a normal person would in using the service. But this is certainly one of the highest priority issues we have. We see a large prevalence of it. Our systems, I think at this point, are pretty effective at finding them. They're not perfect, and there's still a few percent that get through. And it is a big issue and one that we'll continue working on.
Thank you. I'd love to ask the rest of the others questions on that. Get back to you. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman. The chair now recognizes Ms. Castor for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, since you were last here for the committee, the illegal activity, the surveillance of unwitting Americans, the rampant misinformation on your platforms have gotten worse. Part of the reason for this toxic stew is that you employ manipulative methods to keep people cemented to the platform, often amplifying the trigger, and it means your mind. You enjoy an outdated label issues that incentivize you to look good or you make billions at the expense of kids, the truth. Now we've seen the very foundation for our democracy. I've been working for over a year with advocates and other members with an update to the children's protections. You all know the tracking and manipulation.
Come over, say hello again.
But Facebook, Google, YouTube, and other platforms have broken that law or have found ways to
We lost a wagon. Seem to have trouble keeping hold of them. Maybe because the only thing worth taking up here is supplies. There ain't a bank to rob in miles. I'd rather be stuck in a room full of canned goods than a room full of cash when the weather comes in, wouldn't you? Maybe not. But you'll be treated like you're driving an express coach full of gold if you get that supply wagon back to us. I promise you will. Should be up on Roanoke Ridge. But it ain't worth dying for. No killing neither. You hear? Good luck.
And Mr. Zuckerberg, there's a good reason that they have former execs say that. Are you aware of the 2019 report of the American Medical Pediatrics Study that the risk of expressions of collective fraud to the other power? What about the 2019 age research that suicide rates among kids aged 10 to 14 increased by 56% in 2007 tripled for kids between the age of 10
I'm aware of the issue.
Certainly, you are also aware
You can't be back there. Move!
Come on.
Take a big that time has and I can
Listen, Mr. Chai, how much are you using advertising revenue for children under the age?
most of the times but most of our for
Shoes all the way. Masters. Shoe masters. What the fuck is lady?
You're a real nuisance, you know that?
Where the fuck is this shit?
Okay, all right. Let me go on. Mr. Chairman Waxman went on to say, and for decades, the tobacco companies have been exempt from the standards of responsibility.
Get up there, dummy. Get up there, you fucking dum-dum.
Companies that sell ice cream, cars, and food are all held to strict standards when they cause harm, and that we demand that we follow through corporations and their senior executives be held accountable. This hearing marks the beginning of a new relationship between Congress and the tobacco company.
You there.
Said in 1991. So, for all three of you, Mr. Humphrey, Mr. Dorsey,
You just
and
left.
Mr.
You alright?
Do you agree that as the CEOs of major tech companies, you should be held accountable to Congress and the public? Mr. Zuckerberg.
Congressman, I think we are accountable to Congress and to the public.
Do you think you should be held accountable?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean, but I think so.
Question. Should you be held accountable to Congress and the public for the way you run your business?
Yes, and we are.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr.
I'm here
Dorsey?
to help. Yes, accountable to the public.
Okay, accountable, oh, I said accountable to Congress and the public. We represent the public. So you agree?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pachai?
Yes, I'm here today because I'm accountable to Congress and members of the public.
Okay, great. Well, gentlemen, let me tell you this, and I think I've heard it mentioned by several of my other colleagues.
Too many folks seem to be running from their problems. I see it every day.
There's this air of, in your responses to many of the tough questions that you're being asked. So let me tell you all this. All of these concerns that Chairman Waxman stated in 1994 about big tobacco apply to my concerns about big tech.
Be seeing you.
Your companies. It is now public knowledge that former Facebook executives have admitted that they use the tobacco industry's playbook for addictive products. And while this is not your first hearing in front of Congress, I can assure you that this hearing marks a new relationship between all of us here today. There will be accountability. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. He yields back. The chair now recognizes Mr. McNerney for 5 minutes.
I thank the chair for organizing this hearing, and I thank the participants. This is a lot of work on your behalf and a long day for me. I appreciate that. Are you all aware that your platform, the authorities are demanding reset and reading your platform in terms of how you handle your data, and how platforms handle disinformation causes real harm to Americans and to democracy itself. I understand the tension you have between maximizing your profits by engaging to your platforms on the one hand, but a need to address disinformation and real harm it causes on the other hand. Your unwillingness to unambiguously commit to enforcing your own policies, removing the 12 most egregious federal vaccine disinformation. Holy shit! Disinformation is a strong argument for engagement. Consequently, too often don't act, even though we know you have the resources to do that. There are real harms associated with this.
Now,
My
why isn't everyone who works for me as good as you?
Yes, no question. I will insist on a yes or no answer. Mr. Zuckerberg, yes or no?
Here, man, that's cool. Let me go get my. I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, there is, and we take steps to fight it.
Thank you. Yes or no, do you agree that your company has profited from this disinformation?
Congressman, I don't agree with that. If you want to see disinformation on our services and what we do, I think
Oh, God!
We don't know this is happening. It's a COVID-19 vaccine disinformation, election disinformation, pure conspiracy theories, just a little bit of things. It's baffling that you have a negative
You
answer
know,
to that
I
question.
could not care a fig for most of the cargo that goes through here.
Mr.
These
Zuckerberg, you talk
fellers,
a lot about
they're like
third-party
us. Understand? Misused.
information.
So I said I would help them get their things up to where they was going. Can you help them get to where they're going? Okay then, let me get you to them. The destination's by O'Crea's Run.
She failed to answer. I'd like to get an answer today. On average, from the time content is posted to Facebook's platform, how long does it take Facebook to flag suspicious?
I've been in tougher places than this, let me tell you.
Congressman is very big eyes.
legislation prohibits cruelty. And next, you know to be, or should know to be, also listening information to the videos over time. Congressman, that's very important. I think the question is to determine whether misinformation is a process that I think needs to be spelled out and involved in it. So, okay, I appreciate that.
Giddy up. All right, why not?
So you shouldn't oppose it.
We're gonna eat you raw.
Comes with all of it.
Fuck. Come on, dude. Fuck. Shit. Wait.
far.
Okay, let me move on to Mr. Dorsey. Mr. Dorsey, he stayed off. Have you been vaccinated against COVID-19? Not yet.
Not yet. I hope as soon as possible.
Fuck. Oh, dudes.
You support the creation by parents. Cover babies.
But those are mad.
Congressman, I agree with what you're saying, and that's
peer education on the public. I think that definitely is a better approach. I would say the nature of companies is so fast changing and so dynamic. We spend a lot of data hiring so companies so quality, and that certainly is needed, I think, waking up. And that's the problem because we need to talk about this in a way that we keep up with the US. So our risk to growth is actually keep up.
I don't think the decision should be made by private companies or the government, which is why we're suggesting a political approach to help the people make decisions themselves on how to control themselves.
So does that mean that if we, agencies would be intended to address these tech issues that are something to code or
We just haven't got the money. We want to see the details of what that means and how it works in practice.
well, of course. But the heart of it is being an entity that has to address these stuff and provide the transparency, provide the inclusion of hate speech that we seek to make a conversation and to accommodate agencies dedicated to that. Much like the security and speech commissions designed to establish some else would be a third public sector entities with security conversations pretty practical. I would agree with you.
Oh! More regulation around images. But we focus a lot of our conversations right now on the because we're looking at the alternatives.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Recognizes Mr. Deshaun.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
He's gotta go. With the fire.
I want to see my boy Gus.
Because I had a new outfit. We need to go to the toilet.
Hey, stop a minute, will you?
Congressman, I mean, definitely.
Oh, you're back. I've just about given up on. Please take a look. Oh, excellent quality. All right, what have you got?
But we compete vigorously in many markets we operate in.
Sure, why not?
Majority of our revenue comes from product searches, and 1 in 2 product searches originate with Amazon today in the US. We definitely see a lot of competition by category. There are many areas as a company we are an emerging player, be it making phones or when we are trying to provide enterprise software, we compete with other larger players as well. And if you look at last year and look at all the new entrants in the market, new companies that have come public and emerged strongly. In tech shows that the market is vibrant and dynamic. As Google, we have invested in many startups. Googlers have started over, some of Google employees have started over 2,000 companies in
You
the
looking for
past
something in
40
particular?
years. So, I see
All yours.
dynamic, vibrant, competitive tech sector, and we're committed to doing our part.
Let me know if there's anything else you need.
I would echo your comments. I think this is a highly competitive market, and it's a meeting about social media. Not only do you have the different companies that are here today that all offer very big services that compete with each other, but you have new entrants that are growing very quickly, like TikTok, which is reaching a scale of hundreds of millions or billions of people around the world. And I think it's growing faster than any of our services of the companies that are up here today, and it's certainly competitive with us. And that's just naming a few. Right? I mean, obviously there's Snapchat and a bunch of other services as well. So it's a very competitive marketplace.
Do you think, and I'll ask you this, Mr. Butler, I think you commented on some of the privacy things that privacy solidified your comments. So what should we do in the United States? It's a different subject. To not be something that will stimulate innovation and competition, and further, might further make
Well, Congressman, I think the U.S. should have federal privacy legislation because I think we need a national that is across the country that does have harmonized standards in other places that actually create clearer expectations of the industry and make better there. But I think the point that you're making is a really important one, which is if we ask companies to lock down data, then that to some degree can be at odds with asking them to open up data to enable research and competition. So I think privacy regulation should be aware of the interaction between our principles of privacy and competition. And that's why I think that more holistic view, like Congressman welcome, because I think is a good way to balance.
I'm in a bad way. My stomach. Think you can give me a ride home? Ain't too far from here.
Suggest more political approaches to enable as many new entrants as possible.
So, you... you gonna help me? Please. It's getting worse.
5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank you, the chairs and the ranking members for today's hearing. Also, thank our witnesses for
You're good for doing this.
Come on, get on the phone.
Down in the swamps.
The Civil Rights Marketplace Act of 2021 announced its proposal to protect historically marginalized communities from the harms of targeted advertising practices. These harms can and have infringed on the civil rights of protected classes, and I'm proud to the diminished inequities in the digital world. For time's sake, I ask our witnesses to please answer the questions as quickly as possible. First question Facebook provides their advertising on how to get their ads in front of them. You are most likely to find their ads
Shouldn't have eaten that fish. Said it smelled funny, but the wife wouldn't listen. Oh, guess I don't talk.
Avoid specific races or other protected classes. Let me add that I'm aware of the updates. However, why does Facebook in July, their company they changed their ad
Oh, we're close now.
Mr. Johnson, Google has recently announced a new approach to their targeting system for American learning.
Home. I think I'm gonna go lie down now. Thank you. Here. For you.
Take it easy now.
Given the potentially biased and disparate impact of learning machine learning algorithms, how has Google addressed the potentially uniform impact of security policies?
We recently announced a joint collaboration with Hulings that acts as a target a vendor matching simple in addition to basically
Well, I have to say, I think we were both
So we'll
born to
bring
be
similar
entrepreneurs. The way things have been going, there's no stopping us.
or we haven't implemented it yet. We'll be publishing more technical proposals on it, and we will be held to our AI principles, which prohibit discrimination based on sensitive categories, including race, and we'll be happy to come and explain our work there.
I appreciate that. Gentlemen, I just want you to be aware that the longer we delay in this, the more that the systems that you have created bake discrimination into these algorithms. I think that it's critical that you get in there and that you do what is in the best interest of the public of the United States of America and undo a lot of the harm that has been created with the bias that has been baked into your systems. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back 23 seconds, and I thank you for this opportunity.
And I thank the gentlelady for that. The chair now recognizes Mr. Walberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the panel for being here. What I've listened to so far today, I have to say that based upon what many of us in Congress say about the best legislation, when both sides don't like it, it's probably good. And you certainly hit that today. I think from both sides, you have been attacked for various reasons. But, I have to say, the platforms that you've developed are amazing. And they have huge potential. And they indeed have enabled us to go directions, information, communications, relationships that can be very positive and are amazing in what's been accomplished. I think we get down to how that is controlled and who controls it. Going back to our foundation as our country, our second president, John Adams, who said that our Constitution was meant for a moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate for any other. I think we're seeing a lot of problems that you're frustrated with as a result of parents, families, churches, schools that aren't taking their responsibilities. I get that. What comes down to the choice that's left with people is really between conscience and accountability. You're either going to have a conscience that self-controls. And as you said, Mr. Zuckerberg, I know back what you said, I wouldn't mind my 3- and 5-year-old granddaughters coming here and not asking for an invitation. And I think they'd be safe there relative to the online capabilities from what you said. But that's conscience versus capacity. But what I've heard today is that there will be some consequences. And I'm not sure that that's exactly moving forward. Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, we've been here before. We've been here many times. A few years ago, when Mr. Zuckerberg was here before this committee, I held up a Facebook post by a state senator in Michigan. Whose post was simply announcing his candidacy as a Republican for elected office, and yet it was censored. It was shocking and disrespectful, sensational content. Just a few months ago, I posted my resolution that would add teachers to the vaccine priority list on Twitter, and it was labeled as, quote, sensitive content, and encouraged to retweet. Well, hiding behind Section 230, all of you have denied that there's any bias or inequitable handling of content on your platforms. And yet Pew Research Center found that, and this is where I have a problem. Not so much the platform, or even the extent of what's on the platform, But they found that 72% of the public thinks it's likely that social media platforms actively censor political views that big tech companies find objectionable. Further, and I quote, by a 4-to-1 margin, respondents were more likely to say big tech supports the views of liberals over conservatives and vice versa, probably equaled only by higher education. That was my statement. And yet every time this happens, we fall back on the upcoming glitches in the algorithms. It was former Red Chopper, a former Google insider, who said before he was suspended, he said algorithms don't write themselves. We write them to do what we want them to do. That's my concern. Whether it's censoring pro-life groups like Live Action or pro-Second Amendment groups like the Well-Armed Women, for platforms continually shut down law-abiding citizens and constitutional discussions in commerce that don't align with big tech views and the worldview. This includes the First and Second Amendments that causes me to be concerned that you don't share the same freedom and constitutional concerns. It's not often I find myself agreeing with Bernie Sanders, but in an interview earlier this week, and I quote, he said, "You're asking me, do I feel particularly comfortable that the President of the United States should not express his views on Twitter? I don't feel comfortable about that." He went on to say, because yesterday was Donald Trump who was blamed, tomorrow could be somebody. Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Dorsey, do you think laws should now use the United States to have concessions for Mr. Zuckerberg first?
Congressman, I think that it is good to have a law that allows platforms to moderate content. But as I said today, I think that there would benefit from transparency and accountability.
I don't think we should be the only ones. I think it should be it.
I think it's hard. Chair now recognizes Mr. Cardenas for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you. In 2020, Facebook brought in approximately $8 billion of revenue. 2020. Is that about right?
Congressman, I think that's not right.
I think how much of that revenue did Facebook invest?
Congressman, I don't know the exact answer, but billions of dollars.
Help! Oh, that's it! Come on, I'll send you home in a box. Hey, look out!
Excuse me.
Come on, fucking stupid horse.
Miss.
I'm just trying to get over here so I can check out my fucking raps.
Study published in April by Bond and work on misinformation languages.
Come on. Come on, you stupid fucking shit bag game.
Howdy.
Accuracy of flagging those misinformation.
Congressman Dice, we have a international fact checking program where we work with fact checkers
What are you
in 80
doing?
countries in different languages. They use specifically
Will you move? Hey now.
fact checkers.
What's in your crawl, huh? So that's that then.
Fucking
Start
birds.
fussing with me.
person.
Welcome back. You must have been traveling for a while. Do you need any assistance?
And we see the content in whatever language they prefer.
Thank you. So basically, you're saying it's expensive.
Congressman, this is certainly something that we invest a lot in, and it will be something we continue to invest more.
I like the last portion.
You know where we are.
His 70-plus-year-old mother-in-law, who's a primarily Spanish speaker, commented yesterday that friends who speak Spanish,
You trying to start something?
Welcome back.
God
Change your mind
dang
on
it.
something?
For God's sake, that to me this was unbelievable that they would comment on that. But they got most of that information on the internet, on various platforms. Clearly, Spanish language is an issue, and I'd like to make sure that we see all of your platforms address these issues. Not only
I didn't damage nobody's shit.
I think it's important for us to understand that a lot of hate is being spewed on the internet, and a lot of it is coming through many of your platforms. For example, there are 23 people dead in El Paso because somebody filled this person's head with a lot of hateful nonsense, and he drove to specifically kill Mexicans along the Texas-Mexican border. 8 people are dead in Atlanta because an anti-Asian hatred and disinformation has been permitted, spread, and allowed on these platforms unchecked, pretty much unchecked. The spread of hatred and incitement of violence on platforms is a deadly problem in America, and we need to see that it stops. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you believe that you've done enough to combat these kinds of issues?
Congressman, I believe that our systems, that we've done more than basically any other company, but there's still a problem. There's still more that needs to be done.
Okay, good. You'd like to do more. Thank you. I only have 15 seconds, so I'm going to ask you. Do you think that each one of your organizations should have an executive level individual in charge of this department, reporting directly to the CEO? Do you agree that should be?
Congressman, we have an executive person who's in charge of the integrity team that I talked about. He's on my management team.
You could talk directly to
Congressman, he does not. I only have a few direct reports. A lot of report to them.
Thank you. So the other two witnesses, very quickly.
Congressman, we have senior executives, including someone who reports directly to me, who oversees trust and safety across all the executives.
Thank you so much.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Carter for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you for being here. Mr. Zuckerberg, I'd like to start with you, and I wanted to ask you, you're aware, as all of us are, of the disaster that we have at the border. Indicate that human smugglers have been using social media, including Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, to coordinate an operation in transporting illegal immigrants into the United States. Things like what to say to authorities, transportation tips, and other forms of information that are being created on your platform to evade authorities and contribute to fight this disaster at the border. Mr. Zuckerberg, you know we know what's happening to the border. I'm just specifically on your platform. What you're having to do.
Your policies to fight this policy against scams and to events.
election issue, and even today, here in this hearing, it's very complicated issues back about election.
Congressman, I think that we saw leading up to Denver's unprecedented in American history for your assistant president. I'm not sure why he's open for
Which one is important?
extraordinary. It's not just the meeting the election contested, but that
What can I do for you?
I'm aware of that. I was there. I understand what happened. But again, would you commit to treating this as a serious I'm sorry.
Congressman, I will commit to.
Been a lot of that lately, but they always move.
And I think that this is different from what happened on January 6th, where we apply our policy.
I'll take it, but I've already got too many.
Of course, you too have been very silent on this issue on your platform. Would you commit to treating this as a serious concern, the attempted theft of the certified seat in Iowa? Okay.
Hello. Wasn't sure if I'd see you again. So, what are you in the market for?
It allows people to identify information in tweets that they believe is misleading, and the right notes to provide context in the effort to stop misleading information from spreading. Have you seen mobs of Twitter users cancel others?
Well, if that gun ain't shining, glad you take care of what's yours.
It'll work. Created on your platform.
Well, it's an experiment, and we wanted to experiment with more crowdsourced approach of us going around and doing our own thing.
Don't you think that's kind of a dangerous experiment when you're taking all truthful information?
No, it's an alternative. And I think we need to experiment as much as possible to get the right answers.
Okay, well, that's fine as long as you're not
check the munitions before selling them. Won't get no jams or misfires.
Service time is expired. The chair announces that we're going to take a recess now for 15 minutes. So the committee will stand in recess until 3:18, and then we'll come back from. I call the committee in recess.
Guns in the catalog. Take a read. Looks like you're taking care of that weapon. Good to see. I carry only quality goods here. Make sure you got enough rounds for it. That gun seems to be well taken care of.
This is supposed to be colored cloth guy. To decorate here.
You want to refer to the catalog for anything besides ammunition?
Well, I'm supposed to have a blankets upgrade. Quarters. Alright, so.
Not done shopping? All right.
Alright, let's try this.
Well, if that gun ain't shining, glad you take care of what's yours.
I guess I don't get the cobalt. Where's it?
I make sure to test all my goods for quality and defects. That's a guarantee. That gun seems to be well taken care of.
I guess I don't get it.
Janice told me.
Death the other day.
Ain't the first time. Or last, I reckon.
I gotta go.
Holy shit!
Hey, welcome back. Got anything good for me by any chance? You better know how to use that. You have a swell one now.
All I do. More shit
Very
up.
well done on that last thing, I should say. Excellent work indeed. Nice work on the previous jobs. Ah, so, I think this may even be rather fun, and certainly morally justified. You know, it's just a little light robbery from those imbeciles, the Greys. Rowing boats, that's what we want from them. You're going to steal them, and it's going to bother the hell out of them. Which, to be honest, I rather like.
I'm gonna watch you rot! One dead hombre! You're being nice!
Get out. Go.
members and witnesses to some of our hearings. Okay, we'll get started. The chair recognizes Stable for 5 minutes.
Congresswoman, thanks for raising this because I think there's been a bunch of inaccurate things about this shared today. There seems to be a belief. Sorry, this is a nuanced topic, so if you're okay with it, I'd like that. Sure. So, people don't want to see misinformation or devices on our services. People don't want to see clickbait and things like that. While it may be true that people might be more likely to implement in the short term, it's not good for our business or our product or our community for this term of payment. It's not what people want, and we are the company for the long term with a view for 10 or 20 years from now, and I think that we're probably aligned with our community in trying to not show people content that's not unique. Congresswoman, I think that's generally right. For any product, the ability to build something that people like and use is something that is a risk when we can't do that. Congresswoman, there are so many different parts of this service that I think it's probably right that not recommending political or civic groups probably isn't going to meaningfully decrease engagement. But we've taken a lot of other steps, including reducing viral videos by about 50 million hours of watching a day, which have had a meaningful impact on engagement. But we do that because it helps make the service better and helps people like it more, which I think will be better for both the community and our business over the long term.
Okay, the general lady's time has expired. The chair recognizes Mr. Humphrey.
In the chair, let me first say the Democrats received disinformation about the motives of the murder in Atlanta. And very much disinformation is already understood. Murder immediately he was a sex addict, the problem is addiction, mental illness. While my thoughts and prayers go out to the families who were impacted by this hideous crime, it was not his fault. It essentially is disinformation. Mr. Lucy, is it okay for a white male to put a picture of a KKK Klansman hood to a black woman? Just this week, black conservative commentator Candace Owens was on a tweet from a white liberal depicting a KKK hood near support center, said that racist harassment of a conservative didn't violate your terms of service. What do you have to say about that? We removed that tweet. Okay, thank you for doing that. Also this week, Syrian refugee Ahmad Alisa, a Biden-supporting Muslim, allegedly murdered 10 people at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado. Your support center told Newsweek that referring to this gentleman as a white Christian terrorist was in a violation of your misinformation policy. What do you have to say about that?
I don't know that case, but we can follow up.
Your promises from the last hearing that you'll work on this and make it better, rank before we call it sometimes, so I ask that you do. Censored and taken down accounts of Christian and pro-life groups. At the same time, global violence and terrorists continue to have unfettered access on Twitter. You were able to take down the account of a sitting United States president while he was still president. You can continue to allow state-sponsored terror to use Twitter as a platform, including Ayatollah Khamenei, Javad Zarif of Iran, or even Bashir Assad of Syria. You act like judge and jury in the liability protection for Section 630 of the Communication Decency Act, which Congress set off the possible sale of the internet. You think the law in the front Congress gives you that power, but Congress treated the liability to the running. That's the protection of innocent citizens. Captain Mark Rogers talked about the cost of a handling the front here children and guns. Well, this weekend, the John Doe consider case on the Indianapolis Central Station. He was probably put in the process and he was video he contacted me his mother contacted me in the meantime, the illegal video uploaded over 167,000 views. You can threat and homeland security agents to just really take down the video. Even then, you should no action against the account from sharing it and continue to share such as posted videos and matters. It's clear violation of the law, and it's clear violation of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. You've been I know you don't. All we can do is expect to continue to do a good service to that law and your intent. United States Constitution of the First Amendment. That's what you got. The technical speech is usually to reflect on the sort of thing like hostages and forcing things through algorithms to lead them on. Apparently, people really are tired of you using the last rather than their values. So, some Christian leaders are too banned, Mr. Dorsey, had as her last quote scripture verse that he put down. I want to leave it with you here today. Psalm 34:14. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Rather than silence, not wise advice, and strongly suggest if you follow it. Now, I've heard a lot of stuff on this hearing today about people instruction. I challenge my colleagues to really get serious about doing something about the liability strips so that we can have a fair and free internet.
Thank you for care. Thank you for listening to the testifying today. This is a time for your platform. Quite simple. Keep users engaged. The more time you spend on social media, the more data harvested and targeted ads. So to build that engagement, social media platforms amplify content that gets attention. Definition activate quickly. New authentic content. Subjecting users to more extreme content, all to maintain user engagement. This is a fundamental flaw in your business model that may have won the label of temporary suspension of software, leaving content moderation to matter, and your company's and safety desire to maintain the engagement with content.
You did well on that last one.
I'd like to ask my first question of all.
Hello there, pleased to see you.
Each of you acknowledge the company has profit or harmful misinformation, conspiracy theories, and violent content on your platform. Just a yes or no. Starting with Mr. Dorsey, yes or no?
No, it's not as a
So long. Remember, train's always running.
Now, why isn't everyone who works for me as good as you?
Mr. Pinchot.
Well, there are some things to deliver. I keep you occupied until something more interesting comes along. Just see if there's any bags outside and take them where they need to go. Good luck. Come see me again soon.
Ads each partner or service. There's a difference between the conversation in the living room and one being pumped out to millions of followers, from discouraging voting and COVID-19 misinformation to encouraging hate crimes and violence. Or real and disproportionate. We acknowledge that such content is having especially harmful effects on minority and communities of color. Yes or no? I have a lot of time. Yes or no? Dorsey.
Shock me these days.
If your financial incentives and psychology into the creation of a system that emotionally charged content and
horse.
Hello?
I agree largely with what Martin Jack said, and we dominated our channels. We moved thousands of mistakes
Hey, thanks.
And more transparency research into the AI models you use is needed. I understand that they are constantly evolving and
$2.
priorities. However,
Fucking
those
serious?
obstacles must not be insurmountable. Would you agree to some type of test bed to evaluate your procedures and technology for disparate impacts? And would you welcome minimal standards set by the government?
We'll do one more.
I'll go here next. But we, yes, we're interested in those options.
Hey! Caught me off guard. What a horse! You trying to cause trouble with me?
When I'll get there.
One of these is great work. I know artificial intelligence. I agree. Warned just a few weeks ago the grave consequences to the reason. We love how we feel about kids. We all recognize
What?
own products and services all it's there that the
Hello.
ZQA himself stated he integrated leadership in all aspects of the government. Let's be clear with each other. It's impossible to do business in China without either directly or indirectly aiding the Chinese economy as well. It's also important to state the record that each of your business models involve collecting data of individuals' future life and using it for some other purpose. Mr. Pichon, I'm deeply concerned with Google's pursuit of and investment in artificial intelligence research in China. Why is
Can I help?
Don't cross me, damn it.
You be sure none of the work you're doing is collaboration. It's not
We're gonna end this thing.
Chair.
In July last year, I led more than 30 of my colleagues, including several of this committee, in going through real-time results and real of the current distribution on the platforms. As my colleagues and I clearly expressed in my letter, climate change is a real and urgent and scope of situation of the environment effect. For instance, the World Health Organization estimates that climate change causes 150 tons of deaths annually, and number of increases in all this begs a simple question. Why do you
Come on, dumb horse. Jeez, what are you doing hiding up there? Come on, hurry up. Get over here. Somebody got killed. This guy got killed. Oh.
Our approach to fighting misinformation, which climate misinformation is the big issue. I agree with your point here. We take a multi-pronged approach. One is to try to make sure people are alert to climate information that is. But we also try to reduce the source of misinformation and the rest of the purpose through this broad third-party fact-checking program that we have, which the fact-checker is specifically focused on science feedback and climate feedback kind of issues. Overall, I'd be happy to follow up and share more details. We've seen across this
You can throw that one right in there.
Divide the misinformation into
This is you.
things that
I'll be
cause
on my way.
physical harm, which the COVID misinformation that might be converted or received information called imminent physical harm and then other misinformation or things that are false, but may not lead to physical harm for people or for users. That's the core approach that we have, and that explains the differences between the different
Well
issues
done
that
on
have
that
your
last
person.
note. Now, sorry, I can't even thank you.
Howdy there. Welcome.
deploy contextualization tools and linking viewers to similar sources as Facebook's climate symbol. That being said, you restricted but have removed some repeat platforms such as Clarity, a non-accredited university producing climate change denial content. Are you not concerned that by restricting those videos, and not removing repeated purposes, that people who are determined to find those videos to validate their views will indeed harm them and create more level?
Congressman, it's an incredibly important area. In general, in these areas, we rely on bringing authoritative information, both by showing information panels, as well as praising scientific content, academic content, and journalistic content. So our algorithms rank those types of content higher for an area like climate change, similar to election integrity and COVID. And obviously, it's an area where there is a range of opinions people can express with clear policies, and if it's violated, we remove. If it is not violated, but if it is not deemed to be of high quality, we don't recommend the content.
So, am I right in thinking you're here for more of Alden's little master scheme? Well, don't let me hold you up.
On carbon-free vehicles by 2030, and it's an area where we're investing.
You just left. You all right?
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Prince for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses. My first comment is to point out that in her 2019 presidential campaign, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat, called for great health. Several weeks ago, in speech at CPAC, Senator Josh Hawley, Republican, also said that we expect competition to come. I don't think I need to point out the irony of Josh Hawley validating Elizabeth Warren at CPAC. There seems to be a train wreck coming. Unfortunately, the very few tools that we have and in terms of service, you state that you cannot control and you have to take responsibility for content. The community standards document, which is decided as supply content, not sensitive decisions sometimes, not those decisions based on what's considered best for the community's discourse. I know your testimony said that companies need to affirm reliability protections. That's great. That doesn't address the concerns people understand and share about your past and current views on what is or is not acceptable. You claim you cannot take responsibility or should maintain reliability protections and content.
People in their services share and access messages millions of times a day. And it would be impossible for us to scan or understand everything that we're going on, and I don't think society would want us to take the steps that would be necessary to monitor every single thing. I think that would infringe on our freedoms. So, I think it's impossible to ask companies to take responsibility for every single piece of content that's on posts. And that, I think, is the mission of 230. At the same time, I do think that we should expect large platforms to respect their handle. Broadly speaking, categories of content that are clearly illegal. So we talked today about child exploitation and opioids and sex like that. I think it's beautiful that systems are broadly effective, even if we're not going to be exactly perfect, and there's still going to be some pieces of content that inevitably get through. Just like no police department in the city is going to eliminate all crime.
I've got to jump in only because we're out of time. I would love to spend more time on that with you. Let me also ask you, Utah is known for Silicon Slopes, our startup community. You've called for government regulation. Some view this with skepticism because large companies are going to gain 30% small companies. You think back to your college days, the early startup days of history. What challenges do you see for startups to compete, and what cautions do Congress consider as we go through regulation that potential companies it just might be a competition?
Thanks. I think that this is a really important point whenever we're talking about regulation, and I want to be clear that the recommendations that I'm making for Section 230, I would only have applied to larger platforms. I think it's really critical that a small platform, the next student in a dorm room or in a garage, needs to have a relatively low, as low as possible regulatory burden in order to be able to innovate and get to the scale where they can afford to put those kind of systems in place. I think that that's a really important point to make, but I think goes for the content discussions that we're having around 230. It probably also applies to the privacy law that I hope that Congress will pass in this year or next year to create a federal U.S. privacy standard. And I also think that we should be exploring proactively requiring things like data portability that would make it easier for people to take data from one server.
Thank you. I've got just a few seconds left. And Mr. Kachai, this is a little bit off topic, so I'm simply going to ask this question and submit for the record and not ask for a response. Almost a decade ago, your company started Google Fiber. You introduced gig speed and free internet to all the residents of my home city, Provo, Utah. Sadly, it seems like your efforts to do this across the country were slowed down or even stopped by excessive government regulations. I'd love you to share off the record and I'll submit for the record why government thing is so hard to expand internet across the country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good enough.
Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes Mr. Soto for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When television and radio
many ways, in many laws, the school board areas where there are privacy laws, and they call for federal privacy legislation. And in Europe, the GDPR and the privacy state legislation, we are both accountable as well as we are subject to private plaintiff action against the practice. I definitely think what's not talking about around transparency and accountability are good proposals to think through. There are very good please. You make it immediate. All right. Only narrow people with the right things.
Well, you know, this is the legal term, is legal alien. Law, I don't understand why we would not allow
last October, Facebook the effort of 254 pages and 76 Instagram accounts violating your coordinated, thing and behavior on policy. Really, unfortunate, really fortunate network was based in Arizona. It ran its disinformation operation from 2018 to 2020 by creating fake accounts and commenting on other people's content. The 2018 midterm election, the 2020 presidential election, COVID-19, the criticism and praise of creating certain political parties and presidential candidates. Sadly, Facebook only acted after the Washington Post investigation reported its findings. While your testimony states since 2017, Facebook has removed over 100 networks from accounts for engaging in coordinated behavior. Where did Facebook fail by not finding this network